Next, everything's coming up like a match before. The Blob.
Okay.
Versus
Oh, well, you could have 2 Blob fights.
Tango and Cash.
Tango and Cash, another 3-way fight. Well, tag team versus solo.
Because they're fighting the Blob, we'll say the Blob is a pretty good, it's not the little bitty, it's the size enough to where it could kill them. If it gets hold of them. Yeah. Now, I did have on here that, because in the movie, Tango and Cash do paper, rock, scissors, who does something. So that was kind of the, if it would have been another human or one-on-one, they would have done the paper, rock, scissors, and that person would go fight for him. Of course, we would have the other person join in later, because that's what would happen in the movie.
Sure.
So it's the Blob versus Tango and Cash, and they are fighting in Tokyo while it's being attacked by Godzilla.
Interesting.
Now, this will determine everything.
Lightsabers. Could you imagine watching this, though? You see the Blob, Tango and Cash just light up. Like, what the hell am I watching?
No, but then first you see all the people running. Oh, it's Godzilla. Like, oh, what is this? And holy shit, it's Kurt Russell.
Right.
Stallone. What the fuck? And then the Blob. But then Tango, Cash, and then the Blob. Then you're just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
And then Godzilla turns his head, and then you see that wide shot of the city with a little portion of a lightsaber battle going on. All the buildings are lighting up blue and red.
John Williams score.
And you see like the lights, like reflection in Godzilla's eyes as he's watching the
He just stops the...
Yeah. So what factor would Godzilla have in this?
I mean, again, it's just back, like, the fatality. Had it been 2 human characters, the fatality would be...
But even the fatality in this case, it may not affect in this case, but if it was like something that would be sensitive to light, for example, like Mothra.
Yeah. I saw a great meme the other day. Speaking of Mothra, it was a scene from King Kong versus Godzilla, where Godzilla's on the ground and King Kong's sitting over him with a rock. And it goes to Godzilla. The meme has King Kong over him with the rock. The next thing is Godzilla, and it has "Save Mothra." It's a Batman versus Superman reference. If you don't get it. But as far here's now,
why'd you say that?
It's so dumb. I can watch that movie and just like, wait, what? Dumb.
It's like one of those ideas that were up on the dry erase board, and they're like, never in a million years. And they took it off and threw it in the trash, and somebody thought that was the real one. It's like, that's the idea they chose for the end of the movie.
Oh, they have a rule, like when we erase it, we don't put it back on the board.
Right.
Let's erase that, and then somebody's like cross-eyed and erases the good idea above it. Like, oh shit, whiteboard rules, we can't put it back.
I thought you said erase all of them but
that one. Well, we got to base the movie on this one line, so let's work it in. But anyway,
no more brainstorming.
Now, this fight would be absolutely ridiculous and amazing.
Sure, because there's chunks of Blob going everywhere.
But here's the problem: a lightsaber is useless against the Blob, and I'll tell you why. Because you would cut him into pieces.
Sure.
But just much like the Thing last fight,
right? You
would have to freeze or burn the total part because the Blob,
lightsabers do burn.
I mean, he's not flammable. Like, I mean, imagine like a Jello. If you had a knife and you're cutting Jello. I mean, you're not necessarily killing the Jello, or I mean, you're just cutting the big thing into smaller pieces. Sure. And the Blob started as a golf ball sized little thing,
right?
And just it grows from there.
Well, let's say you put Jello over a fire. Would that destroy it?
Yes.
Okay. So at what point do the lightsabers become a direct flame? Because they've cut doors down with this stuff.
No, the Blob is, he's sentient. So, I mean, it's moving, it's jumping, it's much like the raft and, I mean, the goop in the lake from Creepshow 2. So, but the thing is, even, the Blob has his own lightsaber. So obviously there's a part of it.
Does it have the mobility to swing it, though?
I mean, wildly. It wouldn't be, the Blob would not be actually, it would just be like in it, like,
How I imagine it would just be not even lit up, just soaking
like it would cut on parts of itself up.
That's true. So, that's a thing. Lightsaber, if it's any sort of in it, it's boiling whatever's right there.
That's a good point.
So, would it die from its own lightsaber?
That's a really good point.
It would probably be injured. I don't know.
That would hurt it. I mean, that would for sure hurt it.
Because it'd be standing. I mean, eventually you get to the point where it just sinks to the bottom, and it's just standing on top of it.
Because I mean, now based on the movie, they freeze it. That's how they kill it, and they bring it to Antarctica, except for the one guy who keeps a piece of it. I don't remember it being burned in the movie. I mean, I think they used it to keep it away. I mean, hypothetically, it's a living thing, so a flamethrower would make it like I don't want to get burned.
Right.
But like you said, a lightsaber is basically like it's a molten laser beam.
Right.
Like you said, I mean, the Blob, you're right. The Blob wouldn't be wielding it. It would basically just suck it in.
Like, here you go.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, the
referee would give it to him.
Tango and Cash are just like, and the Blob just like.
So they see that. They throw their lightsabers into it. With 3 lightsabers, melt a Blob. 80s Revisit at gmail.com.
Now, of course, this is complete speculation, obviously, and for fun. Sure. I think that's the way to go. Now, of course, again, if this was Deadliest Warrior, an old show from the early 2000s that isn't even on the air anymore, and most people might not even watch or remember, but it had Faramir. It sounded like he'd always do the announcing, like, "Who is deadliest?"
Right.
So, and they would run a computer simulation.
This is the computer simulation
that they later got sued on because the dude on the show didn't actually make it and stole it from somebody or something. There was some fuss over it, whatever. It was a big show for a while on Spike TV. But anyway, so you could run this, you can run it 100 different ways, so to speak. Because my initial thought was lightsaber doesn't do nothing against the Blob because you cut off a piece of it. One little drop gets on you, it's going to start eating you, and you can't get it off.
Sure.
It's much like the Thing. If it gets on you, you're done. But
the arena is a city.
Yeah. So they can.
So they have distance.
Yeah.
Do they have the intelligence to win?
Stallone would, or which one was he? Was he Cash? I haven't seen it in so long. Pardon my ignorance. I think he was Cash. No, he was Tango. I don't remember.
I don't have the research tools up today.
But he was the smart one. So like, throw your laser sword in the Thing. It's eating it's burning it alive.
Yeah, because that's the question. Would somebody realize that?
I think Stallone would, because he was kind of the brains of the outfit.
Raymond Tango.
So Tango would he's a smart one. And Cash was like, "Are you crazy? I'm not getting rid of this. You just do it, do it, damn it, see?" And he throws his. And,
now, would the Blob fight for survival?
Well, I mean, now, it's, okay, they see it happening as the Blob's looking for him in the city. Because, you have the buddy moment, like, we're behind the car, like, what the hell is that thing? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I don't have any guns. I got these crazy science fiction things.
And that giant lizard's there.
And what the hell is that?
Yeah. Now, we did say he's attacking the city.
I mean, so you would,
That's another factor, though.
Tremors. I mean, you have all sorts,
The human factor of being crushed by a building where the Blob can't be.
Or, as they're watching the Blob, they see, like, people run by and the Blob, like, grabs them. Like, we can't go near that thing. We got to stay away. It has a sword, too. It's, it's out, they obviously.
It's just sizzling the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, like, throw your sword in there. And then I think I think you pretty much hit it on the head. I didn't even think about that. So I think, and then eventually
they're just trying to think of a way they could survive.
And they just sitting there, and then the Blob just,
How fast is the Blob?
It does get fast where it's keeping up with people running, but people outrun it. There's that scene.
So the Blob, do you think it would move away from the lightsabers?
Well, the question
is... The moment it does, though.
I don't remember it spitting things out, theoretically. But, it's burnt. It's like if I swallowed a molten thing of nickel. Well, I'm a human being. I'm not a blob.
Is that right?
Yes. I've been discovered in my alien form. But it's burning it. So if it would have to, it's kind of like that thing, like an arrow, so to speak. You have to push it through to get it out, but it would have to burn it through itself.
Right.
And if they just keep, it's going to stay away from it. Once it again, it's not a stupid creature.
Sure.
So they could, again, if it touches them, it gets them, they're dead. There's no wiggle room. The Blob, if the Blob touches you, you die. Because and it's painful.
If the fight never ends, the Blob might have it just from longevity.
But I think,
the humans got to eat sometime.
If this was a movie, again, this isn't a movie, but in our heads, if this is the 80s. If this was an 80s movie, Tango and Cash would win because they would spit them, they would get like, oh, it's working, it's dying.
They'd figure
it out. And then it spits it out or something. We got to get those things back inside it before it eats more people.
And it might set up a sequel.
There you go.
But they would win the day.
And eventually the Blob's weak, and then all of a sudden, atomic breath disintegrates the Blob. Tango and Cash.
That's true.
Tango and Cash. The Godzilla is watching and sees.
Yeah,
because
sees what he needs to do.
He's like,
Godzilla is a good guy.
That's right.
In most tellings of the story.
Pretty much aside from the first film, for the most part. Now, I don't remember every single 27, 28 Godzilla films, but for the most part, he's, most 90% of the adaptations, he is the hero. Yeah. But now, here's the thing. In one of the 100 simulations, Godzilla steps on the Blob. Mm-hmm. The Blob absorbs Godzilla, and the world is dead.
Yeah.
But they're not fighting Godzilla. That's not a consideration. So I think in terms of in 80s fashion,
right?
And if this was something that was
the unlikely heroes win.
Yeah.
If they weren't given lightsabers, who knows?
If it would have been bullets or something, I think again the randomization that's going to turn the table. Because when I was putting this on, I was like, what's going to beat the Blob? So
freeze ray.
That's why I was like.
Freeze no fight then.
Yeah, it'd be over. If somebody gets lucky.
The odds of pulling that card is pretty slim.
Yeah, 1 in 25, whatever those odds are.
But another sci-fi weapon wins.
Yeah, so I think let's go with that. I like it.
Yeah.
That is still would be an amazing movie. I would pay to I need to build a time machine. Well, I need to win the lottery, make enough off the lottery to build a time machine that works. Go back in time with enough money to then make said movie.
Yeah,
and then change the world for the better.